E aí, galera, no podcast de hoje vamos falar de...
Ninguém precisa passar por isso hoje em dia. Tá com gases? Luftal. Ele age rapidinho, em 10 minutos, aliviando a dor e estufamento dos gases e evitando o pum. Porque desfaz os gases ainda na barriga. Chega de passar dor e constrangimento por conta disso.
Bora gravar de novo que agora eu tô pronto.
Luftal Simeticona, indicado para pacientes com excesso de gases no aparelho digestivo. Se persistirem os sintomas, o médico deverá ser consultado. Dezembro de 2024.
On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, 3 new episodes of The Bad Batch, and we're going to tell you all about it.
Nailed it.
Intro music. Oh, what is it? The kids do this? Something like this?
Do they do that?
This is the some
I don't-
anime something or other. I don't know.
I don't know that I've ever seen that, and thank God our podcast listeners are getting a little bit. No, no, I don't know that I've ever seen that. But most of the things I see the youth doing, I don't think I've ever seen. So
Yeah, the
I'm officially
middle
out of the
schoolers.
zeitgeist.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both.
Hey, Rob,
we're back. That was
we're
loud.
back.
We are
in
back.
action.
We're
Bantha
back in
Milk,
action.
Back. Bantha Milk. Remember, we're an ASMR podcast now.
Oh yeah, that's
Bantha Milk podcast. Yeah. Anyway, we are back. We are virtual, mainly because I have a child and she demands most of my life anymore.
Yeah,
And this is about the only way Rob can actually pin me down for a recording.
that's right. I can
Believe me, he tried to physically pin me down in person at a Chick-fil-A the other day.
was
We were
fun,
out
too.
in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and he saw me and he tried to tackle me, but I was too fast for him. And
Yep.
So this is the best he could do.
he's quick. So
Yeah, like a python.
he's like a python. So, yep, Bantha Milk Podcast, we're back. More Star Wars news for you, coming at you on the 4s, on the 6s, and
On
on
the
the
4s,
2s.
6s, and 9s,
And 9s,
maybe even
yep.
the 13s.
Maybe even on the 13s. Yes.
There's only one of those, though, so that makes it tricky.
It does. Yes.
Anyway, so how have you been, Rob?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
I have some Bantha Milk stories for you. A
I love Bantha
long-time
Milk stories.
listener of our show, and
Oh, Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni, well, he writes to me all the time, and I'm like, stop bothering me already.
Yeah, honestly,
Jeez,
he's
honestly.
very needy.
He's so needy. He's like, I have
Dude
an
doesn't
idea.
understand. We're busy.
I have an idea. I want to
Sorry,
pass this idea past you. What do you think? And I'm like, just leave me alone.
Do your own
whatever.
work. Do your own work.
Throw a wolf in there. Go ahead, whatever. You're going to do it anyway. Even when I
Sure
tell
is.
you it's enough with the wolves, you go, here, I'm going to add one
Enough
more.
with the wolves.
Enough with the wolves, yeah. But our other longtime listener, Adam, he
Oh, that
is the
one, of
one
course.
from in 2022 and 2023, way back in January of 2023. He's the one that made the beer that he was going to send to us, and it was the Bantha Milk beer. He wound up never sending it to us, but he sent us out a new email, and
Okay.
this one says, "Hey, I shipped out some beer today. I hope that it survives its cross-country journey, and when you crack open a bottle, you get that hiss you are always trying to capture on the show." All right, and then he says, I sent out 8 bottles of 5 different beers. Maybe a little overboard, but I'm hoping you all can have fun with it. Don't try and drink it all in one show, LOL. Because, 8 beers
gonna
is a
try.
lot. I know. And
yeah,
you're a
was
huge beer fan
considering.
also.
You know how much I like, and I drink it fast, and
Yeah.
a lot of the bubbles make my stomach feel
The
great.
bubbles,
Yeah.
you love the bubbles. You do.
Yeah.
You mostly do beer bongs and then the occasional keg
Oh, yeah.
stand. You're a big fan of both of
Of
those.
course.
So
Of course.
they were sent out. They're not here yet, but they should be arriving soon. And then when they get here on our next show, we'll have to drink 1 or 2 of them and try them. So we have some beers for the next couple of shows.
I'm
He gave
ready.
them all really cool names
Thanks,
as well.
dude.
So Adam, thank you very
Appreciate you.
much. When we get them, we will talk more about you and how awesome of a fan you are.
But
almost.
not at all until not
Not
a single
until,
moment more
right.
until we get them.
Yeah, it's just like, our fans that are watching live who are telling us how awful our audio is live. So thank you
That's right.
for you fans as well. Do you know what this
That's
is?
certainly not your drink, is it?
No, this is not.
I thought you were about to pop open your Bantha Milk.
No, I'm going to do that in a second, but do you know what this is? People in the chat,
Well,
do you know what it
if
is?
I had to guess, it would be a Star Wars Dorby.
Doorables. Disney Doorables.
Oh.
Doorables. So
Like adorable.
like adorable because they're these cute little characters that then pop out. I have the last Spellbound Esther's Pumpkin Ale, so I'm sure this one has been sitting forever.
Pumpkin. Is this from October?
It's probably from October or November.
Last October,
It's from last October. October of 2021.
All right, look at that pour. That's a good pour.
It's a good pour, except my hand's in the way. All right.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Not
There
bad.
it is.
Still got a
All
lot of
right.
bubbles in it from being a pumpkin
L'chaim.
beer. L'chaim.
So Star Wars.
Star Wars.
So we had all these kids going on their senior trip, coming back with like, such and such got this blade, and I got this blade, and I'm just like, yeah.
So you need to become a class advisor in all of your free time, so that way you
Sure.
get to go on the
that's
trip.
definitely something. Yeah.
So Disney Doorables for Nick that you don't know. I don't know if you'll ever get to know because your daughter is too young now for these because she could eat these, and then by the time she's ready for them, they probably won't be a thing anymore. But Disney Doorables now has a Star Wars version of Disney Doorables. So inside the Death
these are
Star,
a pre-existing thing, and they are now, of course, as Disney does, we'll take this idea and apply it to all of our IPs.
correct. So I'm sure we're going to get a Marvel one next. But there's all these.
Oh, look at that guy!
Look at him. He's an adorable
Little guy.
little C-3PO. So that's the first one I got. There's 4 of them in this pack. My wife and I had an argument. I bought it because she likes to open them, but then we don't do anything with them.
doesn't care
So
about
I
what's
was like,
inside,
well, I'll get you the Doorables, but they'll be Star Wars, so you can open them, and then we can keep them here. And she's like, they're not for me, they're for you. So I tried to make it for both, but so I just have to get regular Doorables for her, I guess.
You know, but like now you're kind of making me hungry because just from here it just kind of looks like you're opening up like fruit snacks packets or something. And now I just want gushers.
That's right. And don't eat these because the second one is a very adorable.
It's Norman.
Norman, a
That's
little
probably,
baby Yoda.
I think that's just Yoda, right? Is it regular Yoda or baby Yoda? He's got a staff, doesn't he?
He does have a staff, so it's just regular Yoda.
So that's got to be regular Yoda.
Yeah, it's not baby Yoda.
A baby version of Yoda, but not baby
an
Yoda.
adorable version of Yoda. Yes, I have 2 more, and then we'll move on to the news because I only do 2 of the news articles. This was my favorite as a kid. Dun, 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 bow.
Oh, great! That is adorable.
Yeah.
I will tell you that.
R2D2,
very
a cute little R2D2, and then the last one is here we go, opening up the Skittles. Oh no, Skittles everywhere. Oh, this one is for Mike, who we had on the show. It is.
That is great.
Yeah, she's really cute. So there we go. What are they called? Not the Tuscan Raiders, but the Jawas. It's a little Jawa, yeah. And then supposedly somehow, oh yes, look at this. So you can put this all together, and then you can store them right inside the Death Star.
They display themselves
as you put it on the shelf. So in the next
like
episode, you'll have to look behind me and try and find the Disney Doorables in their display case. So there we go. So those are fun. You should definitely, everybody should go buy them.
So Disney got you again. How much money has Disney gotten from us at this point?
Oh my gosh! Well,
just
look
these
at
little.
Just look at all this nonsense.
You know these figurines you have. Well, now you can have that same character, but this small.
But very small. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you watched? I don't know. I think I might have asked you this last time, and maybe you. I don't remember. Anyway, have you watched any of the Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I did. I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes. Yes.
Did you watch the animated at all?
I think Trey was into it, so I think I watched it, but wasn't paying super close attention. Maybe. Sure. But I do remember like the animated one. He was like going on a journey, and I feel like this one is starting very similar to that as well.
Yeah. So this is Dave Filoni.
Okay.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender was Dave Filoni. Like that was his first big.
His whole big thing, yeah, it was his first big thing, yeah.
Which is why it did so well because the storytelling was so great because that's Dave Filoni's whole thing. And so like we all know, I don't know if you know, but the people in the Avatar: The Last Airbender fandom know that the movie that came out that did not exist, it does not exist, it never happened.
Except you can watch
because,
it.
Yes, because of how bad it was. Right, there was a
Right.
movie that came out has to have been 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I think Will Smith was in it, right?
It's probably him and
Him and the
Danny
Rock.
DeVito,
Yeah, Danny DeVito.
The Rock. Yeah.
Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel as the last Airbender.
It was the Expendables. That's
Yeah.
right. It was the Expendables Avatar version. So they came out with a live action version. Now it's like they have one season out on Netflix.
Right.
And I've heard things on both ends. I will tell you from my experience as someone who loves Avatar, thought it was amazing. Like, it pissed me off that Star Wars hasn't done this well of an adaptation on anything yet so far.
Oh, okay. I like what you're saying.
Because it was a 8 episodes for the season.
Okay.
Each episode was over an hour long.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching and being like, wow. As opposed to The Mandalorian, which is also Dave Filoni.
5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah,
at
27 to 36 minutes. Yeah, like ridiculous.
So like each one felt like, okay, they have enough time to get things, but and yet there was never any like meandering, like, wow, why don't you, like, it didn't seem like they were wasting screen time either. There was
right,
it
wasn't extra long, just slow walking scenes to fill time. Like, it was an hour of good entertainment.
And when there was stuff like, for visual spectacle, it was visual. Like, the fight scenes were outstanding.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was so one of the big complaints, and one of the complaints that Pagan actually has about it, my wife, is that she thinks it follows too closely to the TV show, to the animated, because literally, like, there are some things, like, overall it's like a shot for shot almost remake sometimes.
Okay.
Like, they stuck very faithfully to the TV series, which I think is good.
Is this a Disney product or is this a non-Disney product?
No, this is completely outside of Disney.
Because, like,
actually Netflix owns it.
Okay, because Disney, when they do their live retelling of their cartoons, I feel like they do the same thing. Like, it's just redone all over again, but now just with people as opposed to with cartoons, and it's like,
right. And I get that, but I think with a source material like Avatar is so good, it's like people just want to see that, like, with real people. You know what I mean? Like that, like, the storytelling was so good, you don't have to mess with it.
Is Avatar from comics? Is it from, like, comic books, or did Dave Filoni?
No, it began as like an original story from Dave Filoni and them.
Okay.
Like, it didn't never exist in a manga. It's actually not even anime technically. Like, it's because it's an American studio and stuff. It's not even considered anime. But there are comics and stuff for it now. But no, it was an original creation for Nickelodeon.
Okay, because I was going to say, now maybe season 2 will differ greatly because you needed to get that origin story out there, and maybe he just wanted to tell the origin story the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping whatever they did with season 1, I hope they continue, because, like, again, the guts of the story are so good.
Right.
There were a couple of changes, like a couple that made sense, and a couple that I was like, oh, that's weird. But, like, even, like, there was some silly stuff, like cartoon level silly. Like, there's, one of the big memes from Avatar is, like, there's this mountain they go through, and in the middle of the mountain is this, like, little trippy group of, like, hippies that are like, they're like a band essentially, and they're just like tripping in the mountain, and they start singing "Secret Tunnel, Secret Tunnel," and that's in this. Like, they include that, like,
that's so funny,
and it's done so well.
Right, right.
It's not cheesy. So I don't know. It bothers me that like,
Dave Filoni did such a good job
so well immediately, and like so much Star Wars was floundering at the beginning. But anyway, that's not why we got into this.
No, it is Disney adjacent since it's Dave Filoni. But I have 2 fun Star Wars news for us. So let's hit the news. Star Wars news. All right. So the first one in my feed, it was every single article by every single Disney adjacent, Star Wars adjacent website, podcast, whatever you want to call it. Disney reveals how much money they got return on investment for Marvel and Star Wars franchises.
Go on.
Disney reveals that they have made a $21 billion return on investment for Marvel and Star Wars franchises. Disney had offered...
How much did they pay for each?
I will tell you that in 1 second. Disney has offered a glimpse of how profitable its franchises are as a proxy battle with activist investors, Trian Fund Management, and Blackwell's capital heats up. In a presentation released this week, the House of Mouse revealed that it has seen 9.9 return on investment on Frozen, a 5.5 times return on investment on Toy Story, a 3.3 times return on investment on Marvel, and a 2.3 time return on investment in Star Wars. Per the filing, Disney suggests Marvel and Star Wars have generated $11.6 billion and $13.2 billion. So Star Wars, $13.2 billion they have made since their $4 billion acquisitions in 2012. So they paid $4 billion to George, and they have now made $13 billion on it.
Wow.
Not
a bad payday.
Yeah, not a bad payday. Star Wars notes the opening of Star Tours, The Adventure Continues, in Galaxy's Edge, the release of the original prequels and sequel trilogies, The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Ahsoka, and the upcoming releases of 3 untitled films in 2026 and 2027. So that was like 12 different websites all reporting the same news because they want to be the first ones to drop that news.
Sure.
So,
breaking. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. You heard it from us first.
You heard it on a Bantha Milk podcast. You might have read it somewhere else and seen it with your eyes elsewhere, but you heard it with your ears.
With your ears.
First.
With my ears. I have been injured in the ears.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what movie that's from?
No, tell me.
It's an Adam Sandler movie. One of my favorites. William Madison. When he's
Billy Madison,
when
really?
He makes fun of the kid.
Oh, when she when Miss Vicky Valancourt, not Vicky Valancourt. That's another one.
I was gonna say Vicky Vale. That's from.
Is it Vicky Valancourt?
No, it's Miss Lippy.
Veronica Vaughn.
Veronica Vaughn.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because I remember
Ms.
Veronica Vaughn. So hot.
Yeah. 1, 2, touch.
Touch the Heidi. That's right. Oh my God. What a throwback.
Yeah. So. She when she pulls him out of the room because he's making fun. Today, Junior. She's
that's
like,
right.
"How dare you?" That's one of the movies that I think I can probably quote the entire thing. But yes,
it's so good.
It's such a good movie, so funny. But anyway, yeah. So that's that. And then this
we
one,
need Adam Sandler in the Star Wars universe.
We do. Look,
like I want either there's I think 2 paths he could have. Either like, you know, a washed up old Jedi master who like hangs out like he's an old hermit and he just comes out like or else like, you know, a scraggly like Han Solo type, like, you know, just with the vest and stuff.
Oh, well, I mean, we had Jack Black playing a serious role, so it would even be funny for. Not even like in a full costume. Like you kind of are watching it and going, "Is that Adam Sandler?" Like that would be funny also if he was like kind of in like a hood of some sort, but definitely an old washed up Jedi of some sort.
Or like they made him a Zabrak, so they gave him like the horns and stuff,
on his head.
But it was still very clearly Adam Sandler.
That would be really funny. I like that. I think we should definitely, since Dave. Next time Dave calls me and asks me for advice, I'll tell him.
Yeah.
So this one I found, and this one I had to do specifically for you because maybe now you'll be a little bit nicer. Star Wars child actor Jake Lloyd.
Oh, I saw this. I did see this.
Yes, has schizophrenia. His mom reveals. So the poor fella, the former actor's mom
did some sort of
she opened up about her
and
son's
he's in, like,
mental
an
health.
inpatient center and stuff.
Yeah, he's been in a rehabilitation center for 10 months out of an 18-month treatment, and he has also battles anosognosia, a condition.
Oh, that's totally it. Give it another try. I want to hear it again.
Anosognosia, a condition where a person.
Anosognosia.
ANOSOG, anosogonia, I don't know, a condition where a person cannot recognize their illness and that the need for medication, according to Cleveland Clinic. ANOSO.
Hold on. Listen. Anosognosia.
Exactly, just how I said it.
Anosognosia. I just asked Google. That's really
Yes,
cool. They have a
Google.
new enunciation thing. Anosognosia.
Anosognosia, where he can't even he doesn't even know that he can't that he needs medicine. She said on March 2023, the two were driving when Jake Lloyd told her he wanted to stop the car. He turned the car off in the middle of a 3-lane highway. We were in the middle lane, she said. The police got there, and they asked Jake some questions. He was talking to them, but none of it made sense. It was all word salad. So then he's been in a mental institution since then.
Word salad is among the leafier of the types of salad.
Yes. So I feel bad for Jake Lloyd. He got a bad rap because he was a kid acting. It's not his fault that Disney hired a kid who couldn't act, but that's not his fault. It's Disney's fault for hiring them.
There are so many ways that you could have gone with that, but you went with, it's not his fault they hired someone who couldn't act. It's not his fault they hired a crappy kid.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, hey.
Fair.
It's their fault for doing it to this poor kid.
To be fair to the mouse, I don't think Disney owned Star Wars at the time.
True. Very true. So it's George's fault.
We'll blame Lucas.
George just said the first kid that walks through the door is the one that we're going to hire. So.
George had just seen a recent screening of the seminal holiday classic Jingle All the Way.
He said, "I want that kid."
He said, "That's the kid.
That's the kid
I want."
That's the
as
kid
soon as
I
he
want.
Went, it's turbo time. He's like, "That's it.
That's the kid." So there are the only 2 news articles I have. Since we talked so much about all kinds of other things, I'm gonna cut that short. So. That's the end of Disney news, and then we'll go to a commercial break, and we'll be back with a rundown of episodes 5, 6, and 7.
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Buy it. Buy it all. All right.
Buy it, rent it, own it, send it, ship it, funk it, juke it.
I shipped
it,
my
duck,
pants.
Dip, dive.
Do you remember that commercial?
I just shipped my pants. That's right. That was a classic.
That was a good one. All right.
You know, there's another one that I was thinking about the other day that I hadn't thought about in a long time. I think it was a Snickers commercial. And it's just like a guitar with this dude singing, over chocolate-covered mountaintops and waterfalls of caramel. Do you remember this one?
No. And I watch a lot of TV, so I'm surprised I don't remember that.
And then there were the freecreditreport.com when they had all those freecreditreport.com.
Yeah, I remember
I should
those.
have seen it coming at me.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I think the 2000s were the golden age for advertisement.
Yes, for cheesy advertising jingles. Yeah. All right,
anyway.
So into the Bad Batch we go. Season 3, episode 5 is titled
So I got to tell you,
Return.
I feel like I have a hard time with Bad Batch because every scene I feel like that Spider-Man meme where it's just Spider-Man kind of pointing at Spider-Man, you know what I mean? Like I can never, like it's a character shows up and I'm like, oh, it's that guy.
It's that guy.
It's the same guy that they're all the same person.
And that's the problem because they all of the clones look very similar. All the clones are all voiced by the one guy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
oh, that one has a crew cut.
Yeah.
Or, that one has a scar here.
Yeah. And it was funny. Like I was watching friend of the show, Ryan Airy, and he thought in episode 6 that Wolves was in episode 6, or Wolf was in episode 6. And then he realized that Wolf didn't show up until episode 7. So because they all look the same, he was like, oh, whatever. So the return, tension rises as our heroes navigate new dynamics on a dangerous mission. So this one, I'll give you the rundown.
Felt a little fillery.
It was a little fillery. It also felt a little Jurassic Parky. So.
At one point, I forget, it might have been Wrecker, I forget who, but one of them said what the audience was thinking, and he was like, why is it always a big monster, or something like that. I was like,
exactly.
Why is it?
Why are we always fighting big monsters? Yeah. So we open up Crosshair's target shooting when Echo comes back, and they're still not happy with each other. So this whole season story arc is Crosshair running into everybody that he has now done dirty because he stayed with the Empire. And everybody who has left the Empire is now mad at him because he tried to kill them or something while he was in the Empire.
Seems like a reasonable thing to be mad about.
I mean, I understand. Yes. So Echo Crosshairs are not happy. Crosshairs knows of a base that they can get through to fix the encrypted data pad that they can't understand, and this takes us back to a throwback to when he got himself into trouble. I guess in episode 1 of this season, right? Or when did he shoot the lieutenant? Was that in season 2? Yeah,
I think that was last season.
That was last season when he shot the lieutenant and then got arrested. Yeah, so this takes us back to season 2. They're all trying to keep Omega safe and tell her that she doesn't need to come with. She can stay here. And, of course, Omega says, no, I want to go with also. We now know that her M counts are very high.
Yes, which is important.
Which is very important. We haven't really seen her do any Jedi-esque things.
No, and I read some things where some people think it has nothing to do with her being, because I guess you could have a high M count and not use the Force or anything, but I mean the kind of, I would imagine the game plan here is the Empire's hunting her because Palpatine's trying to make himself a clone body,
right,
that can actually hold on to his Force powers, and someone with a high M count is the only person who could withstand those sorts of Force powers and not lose them. Something like that.
Yeah.
So, she has a high M count, but yeah, you're right. We haven't seen her there's been no and that's I think since the Bad Batch came out, our whole thing has been, oh, she's probably Force sensitive, and
right.
If you got a high M count, it's but there's never even been a moment of oh, well, she did that with the Force, right?
Yeah, she hasn't been able to predict anything, sense anything coming. She hasn't been able to, do any Force stopping bullets, or Grogu was able to put the little Force dome over them when the bombs were going off. She hasn't.
Even
shot
Sabine
lightning.
was able to pull stuff to her and stuff.
Yeah, she was.
She had barely any Force.
She had barely any M counts at all. So yeah, so she was able to finally at the very end do what Kevin Smith was never able to do in Mallrats and get that lightsaber to jump into her hand.
What all of us have never been able to do with the remote control.
What all of us have tried 100 times to try and
get. Yeah.
Yes, so no. So Omega tells, and this was a good Easter egg, I guess. Omega tells Crosshairs that she's older than he is.
That's right.
In this episode.
Right.
She calls him her little brother.
Because she ages naturally, whereas they have been artificially sped up.
Yeah, so she's like Boba Fett, where she is not artificially maturing the way the rest of the clones do. So I thought that was a fun tell, because now we know that she was around before the Bad Batch was created in test tubes. She was already there. So I like.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder, how long? Because, you figure if she was 1 or 2 when they were grown, and they take however long, so they were probably at maturity early. So if after 4 years they were at maturity and she was still 7,
yeah,
they were probably still. I don't know. This is a strange conversation.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So then they Crosshairs tells them about this planet that they can go to. He knows an abandoned Empire base. So they go to the snowy planet where Crosshairs was when he killed the lieutenant back in season 2, which got him all locked up. And this is a good line also. They said somebody said, why was the base abandoned? And he said, well, it served its purpose. And then that's when Hunter says, or Crosshairs might have even said, it sounds familiar. Crosshairs and Hunter, they finally have their argument and their duel. They have it out right in the same spot that Crosshairs killed the lieutenant, out in front of the base. And then you hear a little bit of rumbling, but they're still fighting over it. They're inside. They have to change all the power settings to get the data ports to work inside. So in doing so, this is where we get to the Jurassic Park moment where they turn off the fence And Crosshair says that was to keep the raiders out. And he says, how do you know all the raiders are gone? He says, because I was there. They turn the fence off so that way they can power up the inside. And then I found it very interesting. Hunter supposedly has, all of these extra senses. He can sense things a lot faster.
Sure.
But the dog inside the house, Bowser inside the house, Batcher notices, which is a girl, notices something is wrong before Hunter does. Maybe because Hunter was yelling. Well, that's
because Puppy's the goodest girl.
She is the goodest girl. So then they get the data disk and they find out that it only has medical records on it. Are you trying to get your goodest girl?
Yeah, my goodest boy.
Come here, Batcher. So that only has medical records on it. Then Batcher senses something. Hunter's outside. He does not. Crosshairs admits to killing the officer right here. Oh, there's Lester. And then tells him how he tried to warn them and that it was Hunter's fault that Omega got taken. So this was a little bit of, he said, she said argument here. Crosshairs knows that Hunter's mad at him for Omega getting captured. And then Crosshairs is like, look, it wasn't my fault. It was your fault. If you would have just listened to me, she wouldn't have gotten captured. And then right in the middle of it, then a Pokemon magically appears out of the ground.
Yeah.
And they're trying to catch all the Pokemon. This giant snake thing, what's the deal? They love giant snake things in Star Wars.
Yeah, well, a lot of sci-fi, really. You got the Dune giant snake thing. You got Beetlejuice, the giant snake thing.
Yeah.
A lot of giant snake things.
Yeah, apparently we don't like snakes, so having giant snakes makes it even worse. And then,
I mean, listen, I don't like snakes, and the thought of a giant snake sounds terrible.
Yeah, I agree. And then I just wrote down big fight. So the fight was good. Did you like it, or like? So when you said you're just like there's that and there's that, what did you think of the episode as a whole? Because it was they go to the base to find out. They're just the whole thing is we're trying to find out why the Empire is hunting Omega. And every episode we're getting slightly closer, but not really closer to finding out.
It just feels like every episode is another tease. Like that's what I feel like everything has been since Marvel. It's like, all right, we're going to release this next thing as a tease to the next thing, which will be a tease to the next thing. So like every episode, it's like we're not getting a whole lot of development. We're just getting hey, a whole bunch of stuff happens, and then we inch closer to this plot. And a whole bunch fight, and we got to get the power converters, and we got to fix our data pad, and M count, it just feels like, they're with the Mandalorian, we've talked about it, how it kind of makes sense, that small scope, town to town, and then every now and then the greater picture, but it doesn't work for everything.
Right.
It just feels like they're not putting enough. There's not enough at stake.
Okay.
I never really feel. I don't know. It always just feels kind of like and tune in till next time, folks.
Right, which is the way the original Clone Wars always ended with the cheesy 1950s announcer guy on this episode.
But oddly enough, it didn't bother me as much with Clone Wars.
Okay.
Probably because it had Jedi and stuff in it, and I thought that was cool.
Maybe.
I'm just not as invested. It's the same thing I've been saying the whole time with Bad Batch. I'm not as invested in these characters as I am with the Jedi and with the Skywalkers, and
Yeah.
But even then, it doesn't necessarily have to be about invested in the characters. I like new characters. Din Djarin was introduced, and it's not like I was like, oh, that's a new character, I'm not invested in them. I'm just there. I'm not as intrigued by these characters as I have been by others.
Okay, and that's a fair point. I feel the same way. I do enjoy it. I feel maybe more than you do. But I do like, in the 3 seasons, the story arc that they have gone on. I do like where they're headed as opposed to where they began. And even the second season really started to come along when they were basically doing all the small scale things where they had to do this bounty and do this for the for Rhea Perlman and stuff. So I did
Right.
enjoy, because that was closer to the Mandalorian, like the best time of the Mandalorian, when he was just getting this bounty and going there and, all the small scale stuff. Now that they're back to like a large scale, big story rather than a bunch of small stories that are going to eventually tie together somehow or whatever, it is a little less interesting almost. While it's more interesting because you're finding out deeper things, I want more individual action, I guess. And if this wasn't the last season, I think we would probably get that in the next season. A lot of just small scale stuff, but
I think that, like, now that I'm thinking about it, one of the things that bothers me a little, there's kind of a new push in Star Wars that is like Star Wars isn't all about Jedi, you know what I mean? And it's
Right.
like, hey, here's a story that includes no Jedi. But like the best parts of Star Wars are not the science parts, because it's not a science fiction.
Right.
It's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy, yeah.
It's a fantasy story set in a science fiction like background, but it's not even science fiction because the science doesn't make sense.
No, they're just it's just a more advanced society than ours that has spaceships and stuff like that. So that's where people get it confused with science fiction.
Yeah, and if you find real hardcore science fiction fans, they was like, Star Wars, get out of here with that crap. Star Wars is not science fiction. I think what draws me to Star Wars is the fantasy aspect of it. I like Game of Thrones, knight and dragon, and those classic sort of tales of the wise mentor passing on their knowledge. That's kind of what Star Wars, I think, gives it a little bit of its magic. And I think I understand why they're rebelling against it a little bit. And it worked with Rogue One and stuff. But again, they used Rogue One as a way to explain about a story we already knew and cared about.
Right.
This is okay, here's this gap in time. We're going to fill it with
we're going to fill it.
And I think some of it's interesting, and I am up front, but it feels like they're trying to pull it's the same thing they did with the Game of Thrones TV show. If you read the Game of Thrones books, there's so much more magic and mystery and fantasy elements.
Okay.
For the TV show that they completely stripped away. Even in the earlier seasons that are good, they stripped away a lot of the fantasy elements, even with leaving in the White Walkers and stuff. And I think that took a little the magic away, but they were worried about it having mass appeal, I guess.
Okay.
So I don't know. It just feels to me like for the sake of mass appeal, they're stripping away some of the fantasy. And to me, it's just not why I like Star Wars.
Sure. And I also think they're trying very hard to fill those gaps, and they know where they have to get to. So they're trying to give you a story that fills those gaps. And as opposed to...
The gaps weren't set up for a story to happen. That's the interesting thing. Is this happens, they know this happens, but they didn't write this with the idea that this would happen and then there'd be stuff in between. So they're having to fill those gaps and having to figure out, okay, how can we get from here to here?
Right.
And sometimes it lands and sticks, and sometimes I feel like it just falls.
And even with this, we see Rex and Wolf and Gregor in Star Wars Rebels. When the Rebels go and they're hanging out with the 3 clones. Those are 3 clones that we see in these 3 episodes now, 10 years before that. So they're trying to still okay, we want to incorporate these people, and we got to make it in a way so that they will hang out together in the future. So it's almost ruining the effects and the story that's going on now, because you know where it's going, which is what Rogue One, except I liked what they did at the end of Rogue One, where all the people that were in charge of getting the information to Princess Leia were all killed. So it's you didn't see that coming because none of those people were in the other story in episode 4.
Right.
So that was a good way of giving you that filler story, but then not having these characters lingering.
Yeah, and even then, Saw Gerrera, we were kind of introduced to. I think we were introduced a little to Saw Gerrera for them, but they've done a lot with Saw Gerrera since.
Yeah,
which is great. They tied him in later, but having him there. It was like, okay, here's this important character, and then we learn more about him later. This is him at the end.
Yeah.
We didn't have any, like, it's not like, oh, he's gonna live. We know that.
Right. Yeah. So, so in this episode, back to this episode, there's a big fight. Hunter and Crosshairs both go to fight or drag out the snake worm thing outside the barriers, and they do it together, whether it's because neither of them trust each other or because they do, or whatever the case is. But so they go out together, and by the time they're done, they get the snake outside. Then they realize that Crosshairs is in fact with them and not against them, and he's not trying to sabotage them. So then they make up, and I do like the lines, the end lines of all three of these episodes were pretty good. As they're walking back, I forget who says it to Omega, but one of them says, they always work it out. This time there isn't even any blood. They're closer. They're closer, but not close to finding the base to free the rest of the clones, which is story arc number 2 is to free all the rest of the clones that are captured. Story arc number 1 is to keep Omega safe. And now story arc number 3 is Rex's rebellion, his what did they kept calling it, the little group that they have going on there, their little sect, their little whatever. So step 3 is separatists, the separatists, because all the separatists come together to form the rebellion.
And those separatists, like, I think if you look into like the background on some of them, like some of them you find out were separatists during the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So they remain separatists. And it's really, I do like how they worked some of that in.
Yeah. And then at the very end, he says, all we do is keep trying to get better. Oh, I thought I was being a good soldier. Crosshair says, and then he says, all we do is keep trying to get better. So that's Hunter basically saying, I forgive you. So that's how episode 5 ends. And episode 6 is called Infiltration. And this is when we now see wolves, or not wolves, we see, what's his name? Most of my squad, he turns, Hauser.
That clone.
That other clone, Hauser. Most of my squad from Rylock is dead because of you.
Hauser, I hardly know her.
Hauser is who Crosshairs turned in back in season 1. We see them again. He's not happy. And then I wrote, this is a theme that Crosshairs is now atoning for all of his sins when he went back to the Empire. So now here's the next person. Oh, this person doesn't like him. And then we see Rex is leading the Senator Chuchi, who was fighting for the Clone Wars, fighting for clone rights. She's going to meet another senator as they're trying to talk, and that's when Clone X, we see through his sniper rifle, and he's trying to kill the two of them. What did you think of Clone X and his armor? I thought it was pretty cool. I want to 3D print that helmet because it was a pretty neat helmet.
It's cool, but like I feel like we never see his face, right?
Nope. He is a clone. So at the end, at one point, his helmet does open up like Iron Man's, and we do see his face.
I just don't get why he has this face mask on the entire time when it's like it's not some, it's a clone,
right?
Like, you know, I get it. You're like, I guess they're trying to differentiate him as like, oh, this is a badass clone, like,
right?
This one's real good.
This one's real good. He's got this cool mask. He's gonna wear it the whole time.
And his voice had a modulator too, right? Like his voice wasn't like when he was in the mask, the voice was modulated.
Yes. Yeah.
So like it was like unless you're trying to hide, you're who you are, but like otherwise it's like, hey, I'm gonna open up my mask and it's a clone.
It's another clone. Hey, look at that. And it's not even like the clone, the Bad Batch, where they're, what did he call themselves? Deformed. Yeah. He looks just like all the rest of them. So so Rex is an undercover mission leading Obi Shin to take him to Senator Churchy. Bad Batch was going to save him in season 1, but they threw back the bounty puck back to Rhea Perlman, and they said we're not saving a separatist. So in season 1, they were still too military brainwashed into, no, we're not doing anything with separatists, and now they're pretty much leading the charge to save all the separatists. So it's interesting how that has evolved. And then the other guy, the guy that they're protecting, he looks like an old Middle Eastern king, and the town looked very Middle Eastern too, with a lot of like domes and the lanterns and stuff like that. So it was a neat look that this whole, and this isn't the first time that we've seen this planet. We've seen this 2 or 3 times in other series, in Clone Wars and things like that. So we're back to a familiar-esque planet, so nothing new there. All Clone X were brainwashed and their minds were basically erased. Clone X was back from Season 2. The clones talk about, at one point, Gregor's recipe. When they get back, he says, oh, I have Gregor's recipe with some of my own special touches. And that's when Wrecker's like, oh, yeah, I love food. So Gregor's the third guy that Rex is with in Rebels. So we don't see him yet, but they do mention him. So they're trying to tie in, once again, people from the future and in the past together so that we know that they're still alive, even though we already know that. And then they tell Hunter that they capture the assassin, and they take a data puck, which is what we see in, of course, The Mandalorian. And on the data puck is not only the senator, but also, dun dun dun, Omega is on there, that they have to try and find them. So now we know this is where the big thing is going. They capture Clone X with the stun, which I feel like the Bad Batch uses a stun a lot rather than killing people. They always are stunning and whichever, which is nice because then at least they're not complete assassins.
Disney, oh, look, they're the good guys. They don't kill.
The good guys don't kill. The good guys just stun. But then they capture them, and then they lock them up. And then they go back to their place,
they take
which
the chip
is
out of his tooth.
Yeah, they take the chip out of his tooth because they know that he can do that, but they don't know about the extra tracking device, the other chip.
Extra.
Yeah. They go to an old Bomar Palace, which is the same thing that Jabba the Hutt. His castle is the same type of palace.
So this particular palace, I think, was in the original Clone Wars movie.
Okay. And the spiders,
it's like a throwback to that.
Yeah, the robot spiders that are walking around are actually the brains of the old people, that the monks that used to live there when they got so elevated that their brains came out and they put them in these spiders. So when you see them in Jabba's palace, they're actually the former monks who used to live there, who are just like walking around as spiders now. Pretty creepy. So he says, this was funny. Wrecker says, oh, they don't seem happy to see us, which is also a flashback to Season 1 when they're walking through the food line and everything else, and they're on the planet that all the clones are made on, and none of the clones like them because they're all different than them.
Yep.
Omega gets a new bow. I don't know why we needed her to get a new bow, but she gets a new bow. So there we go. It's a green bow now.
She's a bow lady. She needs a bow. The old bow's gone. Here's a bow.
I guess she lost the old bow, right? Yeah. Oh, it's when she got captured, she lost her bow. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So they give her a new bow, and then they find out about her M counts and her force sensibility, and then Clone X sees her, and then he reports in that we have the primary target. And they say, don't do anything to her, to leave her alone. We will come and we will capture her alive. And that's how the episode ends. So it was like a fast episode. But it was, like you said, it's like full of just building up. You know, like I felt the first 4 episodes were really good because it was Crosshairs and her escaping. It was a good escape. And, you know, we get the band back together. But now that the band is back together, now everybody's not happy with each other. And now we're going through trying to find out more things about why they wanted to capture Omega in the first place. And now, episode 7 is called Yeah, I can. Easy for you to say.
You got this. Go for it.
Extraction. There we go. I got it.
That's the one.
That's the word. Wolf is
a
now
hard one.
leading the team to get Omega.
Of course, Wolf.
Wolf, of
Freaking
course.
Dave.
There's got to be somebody with. There's got to be a wolf in it. There was a meme. It was Scooby Doo with a sandwich that said wolves, and then another sandwich right next to it that said Dave Filoni. So he's leading the extraction team to try and get Omega because he's got to take her back, and he doesn't know that all these clones are now fighting back. He's still so brainwashed, and he's working for you without a beard, the doctor.
Me without a beard?
You without a beard. What's the doctor's name? Dr.
No, Pershing.
No, not that. No. The one in this. The one who's
He's
Hemlock.
me without a beard?
Hemlock, yeah.
Hemlock.
Yeah, because when you get your hair cut, I said last week, when you get your hair cut,
you get
the backs all shaved, and his is real shaved, real short and stuff. So, yeah, so it's Hemlock. So
You're right. Yeah, I
he's
forgot about that.
So he's working for Hemlock, so he has no idea that.
Notice how fast my hair grows in, huh?
I know, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all there. Enjoy it. I don't have that issue.
Don't want to rub it in.
Yeah, rub it in there. So this is when Wolf finds out for the first time that clones are insurgents, and he says, "I'm here to get the insurgents, but you're not insurgents. You're clones." And Rex and him have a nice big talk, whatever. Wolf and Clone X know about each other. So here's the thing. This is what Ryan Airy thinks, and I don't think so. I think maybe he was teaching, but when Crosshairs was captive, because Clone X is also a sniper as well and uses a lot of the same techniques that Crosshairs does. So Ryan Airy said that he thought that they maybe pulled his DNA, Crosshair's DNA, to make these Clone X troopers snipers as well. I think that he was just trained probably by Crosshairs, because at one point at the very end, he says to him, you had your chance to be one of us, you chose the wrong side. So he wouldn't have been able to know that he chose or he had a chance to be one of them if they were using his DNA to make him. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I think nah, because they're already cloning a dude,
right?
So now they're gonna clone a clone.
Yeah,
it just feels like, and they're gonna clone a defective clone. Nah, and I don't buy that.
Yeah, so I think that he definitely was there helping, training, and all kinds of stuff like that. But I don't think that they took his DNA.
Right.
So they bring these guys in. Clone X's taunt them his DNA. He says that loyalty means something. Oh, this is a fun scene as my chair clicks out. Hunter and Crosshairs are walking together, and not Hunter. Crosshairs and Omega are walking together, and you can see now that Crosshairs has a fonder feeling towards Omega than he did in season 1. It's not like he hated her in season 1, but now he's like very protective of her and very aware of her and aware of helping her and saving her and all that stuff.
And likewise, after their journeys together, she started adopting some things that he does, like she did with Hunter, and then she has a toothpick in her mouth at one point.
Did she? I didn't even notice that. That's so funny. I didn't even notice that.
Yep, and there's several times, like in the first season or two, where you just get these shots where Crosshair or Omega and Hunter are in the same exact pose, doing the same exact movements. So it's cool to see how she the more she adventures with someone, she picks up on some of their mannerisms.
Yeah, that is funny. I didn't even notice that, so that's really funny. But yeah, he says loyalty means something to him. Because when they were, held captive together, she was like, "I'm going to get you out of here," and he was like, "Don't worry about me." And she's like, "No, we're a team. I'm getting you out of here. We're family or whatever." So then the other clones realize that, okay, maybe he's not a jerk. Maybe he is actually going to be one of us, and he is part of us or whatever. So then they're running through the jungle, and the ship. When Clone X shoots down the ship, and the person jumps out of the bottom of the ship, it's your favorite sound effect of all time.
Oh yeah,
A Wilhelm scream as the person jumps out. And then Crosshairs and Clone X are fighting in the waterfall. Yeah, waterfall. And it ends a lot faster than I thought it would. And just goes to show that Crosshairs is not a hand-to-hand fighting guy because he's a sniper. He's just designed to be far away and just take people out from long distances. But he almost... I watched it twice because I was like, okay, did he hold his breath? What happened? But it looks like he completely passes out underwater. And then somebody comes up from behind and shoots Clone X in the back. So he lets go. And then he immediately, as soon as he lets go, he immediately pops his head up. Crosshairs immediately pops his head up out of the water.
It's the Force.
It is the Force. It's your
Come on, man. It's Star Wars. Doesn't make sense. It's the Force.
Omega's Force sensitiveness.
Omega was just on the, like, you didn't see off camera. Omega was like, oh.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was doing.
Exactly that.
Exactly that. So she woke him up and pulled him out of the lifted his head up, and he woke up, and then he was freed, and we see Clone X go over the waterfall, and as we always know, unless there's blood or a dead body, no collision. We
did not see his body hit the rocks at the bottom of the
Nope. It was a 500-foot waterfall, and he's fine. So then Wolf's chasing.
He went
Rex.
in like a pencil.
He did. He went in feet first. Yeah, he was okay. So then they get to the extraction point, and that's when Wolf's team comes down, and that's when they have the big discussion about, wait, you're clones also? You can't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then Wolf lets them go.
Yeah.
He says...
I'm sure there won't be any repercussions for that.
No. Hemlock is a very nice and understanding guy. You had Omega, which is what we needed you to do, and you let her go. Okay, well, I'll just send somebody else.
We'll get her next time.
We'll get her next time. It's okay. Yeah, so...
Good effort, buddy.
And they go back with... what's the other guys? I'm not going to find it in here now, but the droid with the glowing mask. Echo? No, on Wolf's side.
That's going to annoy me.
I forget his name, but he has like the glowing mask. But he's there. They did not take back Clone X with them, but I'm sure he has some kind of communication in his helmet. But they also have the sensor, so they know that he'll still be alive. So they'll send somebody to get him. So when they send somebody to get him, they'll, I'm sure he'll also dime him out and say, no, I led him right to him, and he let them go. So, but it is interesting because, Wolf's going to be facing the repercussion from not bringing Omega in, and then that will hopefully be the turning point for Wolf to see, hey, wait, I am on the wrong side now. And then at the very end of this, they always say, if you want to keep, or they always say, he says, if you want to keep her safe, you need to know why she is so important to them. So that's now telling us what the new mission objective is to find out why is Omega so important to them that they...
Once again, stay tuned for next time,
folks. Na. Yep. So
same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep. So that was everything in a very fast rundown for you because Nicholas is very tired over there. He's had a busy day with his toddler.
I haven't said a thing.
No,
I've been just toughing it out.
You have been.
I've been yawning, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a day, but that's okay.
So I enjoyed the episodes.
I feel like I've come off in a way that sounds like I hated them. I don't want to put that like I did not hate them. I thought they were good. I just don't know that this particular series is ever going to grab me in that way. unless
Yeah.
something big happens. Like it just seems like everything is just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not, for whatever reason, I'm just not falling in love with the characters. Every now and then I'm like, all right, this is going somewhere, and then I'm just going like, it's fine, it's good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, and you did too, Star Wars Rebels characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's been, well, there hasn't been any animated, I guess, since then. But
Right.
there hasn't been
Well,
a
there was
show.
Resistance, right?
Resistance. That was
But that,
more for kids. That was
but even that, like, and that's a good point, because like Resistance, we were talking about, like having a stake in the characters. It's not like there were all these new characters in in Rebels. You know what I mean? There were, we got Ahsoka came back, and we got, but like, the core guts of the group were all brand new characters,
yeah,
and I had a stake in that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I felt like it. I don't know. It pulled me in somehow from more than this one is.
yeah. I think I was thinking about when I was watching it, and I think if this was a live action show, it would remind me a lot. The pacing is a lot like Andor,
Mm-hmm.
where it's slow. It's not like boring slow, but it's not nonstop action. Which I
Right.
feel with like a cartoon, everything can be so much faster and really going on more. Which is where like Rebels was always, they were always on the go, they were always running, they
Yeah.
were always doing something. This is more storytelling, and I think Filoni wanted to maybe come up with these 5 characters that were all so different, kind of like a GI Joe type thing where every character did something different. But I don't know. It is slower. I am enjoying it. And I think I'm enjoying it more. I went back and rewatched season 2. I think it is a show that if you binge watch it rather than watch one episode a week, you will get a lot more out of it than watching one
Okay.
episode a week.
Sure. That makes sense.
Because when I went back and I binge watched season 2, I really enjoyed it a lot more than the first time. I remember as we were doing our weekly shows of it, we were like, whatever. But rewatching it, I was like, why did I not like this the first time? So,
Right.
I think that's a deal.
Well,
with
you don't
it.
have you don't have any expectation going in now. That probably helps.
Yeah,
Like it's already out. It's not like you're waiting on like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. It's like, all right, let's just take what I already have seen and reframe it a little. It's
yeah,
like it's easier to accept something when you don't have this big like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if it's going to have implications. I wonder if it's going to,
right. And like this one's fun. Even these 3 episodes, because they keep dropping all these Easter eggs of all these clones, because where a couple of them wind up, and this and that. But at the same time, it is a little bit tougher but in the Clone Wars, when you watch the Clone Wars series, were you able to decipher the clones as much then as now?
more, but still, I was like, clone.
Yeah.
Fives, Rex, yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I had a problem,
Okay.
but it was easier, I think, just because I don't know. There were so many episodes of Clone Wars, so you got used to seeing certain clones with certain people, and
Right.
I don't know.
And
I
and
can't explain it
and
that
I
well.
think the art in this one, being everything is so much darker, it's really hard to see their distinctive markings that they have, like with
Right.
Rex's blue armor versus Wolf's
Right.
gray armor and stuff. When they're in the woods at nighttime, it all looks very similar, and all the armor is, scratched up and scuffed up and stuff. So you're disguising all of the signs of the individual signs because they're scuffed up and dark and whatever. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it as much as The Mandalorian, but I don't think anything of late has grabbed me the way The Mandalorian did.
Sure.
The first season The Mandalorian did either. So
Yep, I'd agree.
I don't
Let's
know.
hope the Acolyte rekindle some stuff. I'm excited about that one.
And the Acolyte will be fun because it's 100 years before this,
Yeah.
so it's going to be all new
There's
characters.
nothing for us. There's nothing. There's no like expectation of this has happened. This will happen. It has to lead to this.
Yeah. And it takes place before even the Emperor. Who was the Emperor Sith Lord before him?
Oh, Plagueis.
Plagueis. It happens even before Plagueis, so it's not even like we're going to be able to see anything that leads up to what we know now. So it's going to be all completely different. We may only just see Yoda because that guy's like 9,000 years old. When 900 years old you are, you look this good.
That's right.
So we may see him every once in a while. I hope we don't see him all the time because then it would just be like the Yoda stories from 100 years younger. And he probably will look the same, maybe a little less, but who knows. So, so that's what we have. Maybe we get some new characters that we really fall in love with there. I don't know. So that's that. So that's a breakdown of these 3 episodes of The Bad Batch, which I liked. It's good.
The El Batch Malo. Stay tuned for our Spanish translated podcast. It's going to be muy bien.
Muy bien. It would be great. You have to get your mom on and we'll watch an episode and she'll just translate everything in the Spanish for us.
That'd be great. I think she would not be game for that, but I could try.
I think she would not want to do that at all. She would say, Nicholas.
Sounds like literal hell to her.
Nicholas, this is not fun, Nicholas. I'll just go play with my
Call me
grandbaby. Nikki, I'm gonna go play with my grandbaby.
That's right.
That's what she'll say.
I wouldn't blame her either. All right. Well, that's more episodes of Bad Batch. How many episodes are there total? Gonna be?
That was 7, so there's got to be 9 maybe. I think we got a couple to go. I didn't even think of that. Oops, here we go. All. There are. Oh no, there's a lot. Holy cow, 15.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a good amount.
15. All right. So that was episode 7, Extraction. Bad Territory comes out on March 20th. The Harbinger comes out on the 20th. Harbinger comes out on the 27th. April 3rd is Identity Crisis. Oh my gosh. Identity Crisis on April 3rd. 2 of them on April 3rd. All right. And our Point of No Return, Identity Crisis, and Point of No Return on April 3rd. Juggernaut on April 10th. Into the Breach, April 17th. Flash Strike on April 24th. And the Cavalry has arrived on May 1st. I wonder what's going to happen there.
Oh, boy. The Cavalry will arrive.
The Cavalry will arrive. So
there you go.
That's where we are.
What a spoiler. They already gave us a spoiler.
I know. The whole cavalry's coming. The horses.
Well, might as well not watch anymore.
The Pony Express will be there. And the guys with hats and guns.
Mounties. Freaking Canadian Mounties.
Canadian Mounties will be there.
Hey. White coat, giant floppy hats, eh?
We're here to save the day, eh?
Hey, where's the Jedi at, eh?
Hey, is there anybody with a lightsaber around here, eh?
Before the Canadian embassy calls, we should probably call this.
We should stop making fun of the Canadians. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to get canceled by Canada. That's possible.
It's all right. They don't listen to us.
That's, well, I've seen the metrics. They don't. You're right. Freaking Canada.
Freaking Canada.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm going to go to sleep.
Yes, me too. Great. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful.
From Rob at Bantha Milk Podcast headquarters and me in my house.
And Nick's house.
We've spoken.
We have spoken.